Welcome back. Today we will discuss a disease that affects a lot of people, namely cancer. Our guest is Dr. Daniela Farkas, renowned specialist from Florida, USA. Thank you for coming and sharing this valuable information with us, Dr. Farkas.
Oh, you're so well. Thank you for having.
And the first question, is cancer due to genetic mutation?
This is what it used to be believed. When I was in school, I was told that cancer is due to genetic mutation. The newer information that is coming out from different labs like Harvard is telling now that could be a genetic mutation, and it's about 1.5% due to genetic mutation, but the other 98.5% is because environmental and the way we eat, environmental causes that affects the population and cancer.
In what part of the cell, what organelle, cancer originates in?
This is very new research being done, and it seems like the organelle that is responsible for initiating cancer in any cell is the mitochondria. Now, mitochondria is an organelle that is not of human origin. I know this sounds like science fiction, but it's not. Mitochondria, it's a bacterial origin. It has a different DNA than human DNA, and it must have been incorporated into our cells about 1.8 million years ago, and it seems to have its own genetic code, its own rules by which it's governed, and that is where the mutations or the cancers originates, like 98.5%. It's only 1.5 that is due to real genetic mutation in the human DNA.
Wow, very interesting.
It is very cool, to consider that, we are pretty much driven, but something that is not even human.
Yeah. And how come the body does not take care of it?
Our we have a surveillance system, and our surveillance system is equipped to take care of cancer. And
The
it
immune
it
system. The
does,
immune system.
yes, it does a relatively great job. Every day, every day, our own immunity kills few thousand cancer cells, and that's why we are cancer free, especially in the younger part. This surveillance system is governed by the white blood cells, and um, it's very active usually in younger population. Once we reach about 20, 25, 30, this immunity starts to kind of like work, but not as good. By the time we reach 60, is less than half of what it was when we were 20. And the chances of missing some cells are very high. But not only that, the cancer cells are pretty smart, and what they are doing, they mimic regular cells, or they take from the surface of the cells, they take the markers that could tell the immunity, hey, I am a cancer cell, I am a mutated cell. So if the body does not see that that is a cancer cell because it's missing the markers, the body leaves it alone. Not only that, but sometimes the cancer cell use our own cells to make proliferate, and it fools the immunity in thinking that it's something relatively good. So yes, they are pretty smart of a war it's going in without knowing. Yes.
And in this situation, what can we do to protect ourselves?
We know for a fact that cancer cell uh, cannot do the regular feeding that our own cells could do. Our cells use a type of respiration that it's called aerobic respiration. Cancer cell does not use this. Cancer cell uses fermented metabolism, and because of it, it uses sugar. For example, when somebody wants to find out if they have any cancer, they go for something called a PET scan. And what the PET scan will do, the doctor would inject a bolus of sugar into the body and then take pictures at different intervals to see exactly where the sugar would go. Cancer cells kind of absolutely love sugar. So wherever the sugar uh, pulls in an area, like let's say the sugar would pull near my lung, the doctor would say you have cancer in the lungs because that's where the sugar is pulling. Or the cancer, you have cancer of the colon would pull into the colon and it would light up where the colon is. So the doctor would say, well, you have cancer or metastasis in the colon. But it's due to the fact that the sugar is uh, is looked for and taken up by the cancer at a much higher speed. So, if we know for sure that we are positive for cancer and we have cancer cells, the best way, the best protection we do is to completely eliminate sugar. Now, sugar is not only what it says sugar on it. Anything that is broken down into the molecules of glucose and fructose or corn syrup it's a lot worse than sugar, uh, or corn syrup, it's considered sugar or sugars. So if somebody is diagnosed with cancer, the number one thing they have to do is to cut the food that cancer lives on. Since cancer cannot live, for example, on anything that is like ketones, which is the metabolites of fat or the metabolites of a protein, you pretty much starve to that the cancer that you have. Another unbelievable good approach is a prolonged fasting, because if you cut all the food from the body for couple of days and nothing happens, we have enough reserve for
Couple of days, it's
a
not too
month
much.
or
Couple of
more,
days?
months probably. Nothing would happen if we would only consume sugar. We would eat away, because the way the body is made is really smart. If I do not eat anything, the body says, okay, it's a period of famine. So now it's time to use our reserves. So the body is going to use the reserve of energy that we have stored in the form of fat. The body goes through that, and it takes about a week of cleaning up the extra fat and used as ketones once it's opened up to fuel the body. The body could make sugar because there are organs like the brain that need sugar. And the body could make sugar for the brain, but that is not what the cancer does, gluconeogenesis. That is only a sub portion of the sugar that is made specifically for the brain. Once the body is done with that, the body says, well, maybe we should not use all our reserve of fat. We're going to recycle anything that is not used. For example, uh, damaged protein in the body in the form of old cells or senescent cells, which are kind of zombie cells that they don't do nothing, or not useful proteins in the body or in the muscle. The muscles are usually spared up to about 2 months. But in doing that, the body will use the cancer literally for fuel for the body. And it is an unbelievable good and elegant design to get rid of cancer, except that people don't like to give away food for a period of time. They rather keep the cancer and
And
the
sugar as well.
yes, with the sugar as well. Yes, but really, if you change the environment, in this case, the way you eat, and you drink clean water that is devoid of toxins or devoid of added chemicals, pretty much you starve your cancer to death. You
So
could
no,
cure yourself of cancer this way, yes.
so no alcohol, no cigarettes, water, fresh water.
Alcohol is a big taxer for the liver. It's not that it's so horribly wrong, but what alcohol does, it occupies the liver and it has to be detoxified. When you have cancer, the body has a lot on its hands. You do not want to give it like an overload, an overwork, because the liver could only work so much. So it's much wiser when you know you have a disease like cancer to do not add more harm. Cigarettes, it's a collection of like known and isolated over 3,000 carcinogens. So, you know you have cancer. Why on earth would you push it and give food and carcinogens to by the magnitude of like thousands to you know try to heal yourself, and meanwhile you poison yourself on the other way. And yes, water, we are mostly water, and the body uses water to detoxify. So if what you use to clean yourself it's dirty, how on earth somebody could expect to get something new out of something dirty? It's like kind of common sense.
Yeah, and mineral water is okay or not? Mineral.
Mineral water should be okay, not in the case of cancer,
Mm.
because the minerals that you have many times put chemicals that need to be detoxified and eliminated by the body. And when you have a disease, actually any disease, but especially something like cancer, you do not want to give the body an extra load of work because it has enough on its hands. You just tell her, please get rid of my cancer and don't get rid of anything else. Leave it for next time, next shift.
Yeah. And are conventional treatments working
For cancer,
for
well,
cancer?
depends. In the past, if somebody had cancer, the main way of treating was go ahead, cut the cancer out, and hope for the best. Uh, that's how they did it in like 1960, 1940, whatever. That was a very kind of stupid approach because by the time you could see it with your naked eye, it's by the thousands and the hundreds of thousands of cells that the body take it all over. Okay, they saw that this is not working too well, so now they are doing something else. They say, well, how about if we remove the cancer and then we give the patient a little bit of radiation for like 30 treatments or 40 treatments, and then we're going to inject some poisons in the body and we're gonna kill everything, the good and the bad, hoping that mostly the bad will die, and most of the people die as a side effect of the treatment.
Not the
That
cancer.
wasn't that good of an approach either. Many people, though, somehow, in spite of those brutal treatments, survived, which were considered a success. Uh, the treatments that we have now are a lot milder than in the past, and they target mostly the cancer cell, and they spare the good cells. In having a narrower target to target only the cancer cells, many of the cancer cells are spared because they cannot differentiate too well between the good cell and the bad cell. So if you are in the gray zone, you might be spared, but you might be cancer but not fully grown. Uh, Newer approaches are immunotherapies, And immunotherapies are unbelievable. For example, the oldest living ex president that we have is Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter had malignant melanoma with metastasis to the brain. Well, that used to be a death sentence less than 3 months away from the diagnosis time. And here is 6 7 years after and he's still kicking, which is unbelievable. Good for him. But this is because of the new treatment with immunotherapy. So there are treatments that are a lot better, not for all the cancers. For example, pancreatic cancer, it's not something you want to hear the doctor pronounce, as you being the recipient. Uh, there are cancers and cancers. Skin cancer, I deal with skin cancer all day long. If we catch it early, the treatment is only excise it and wishful thinking after that. And most of the time it's gone. Uh, but again, with skin cancer, most of them, maybe not all of them, but most of them are induced by radiations from the sun. So if somebody doesn't use sunscreen, which is an environmental factor, if they don't use sunscreen, they don't use any protection, they are white skin like me, or white with red hair or something like this. Uh, the sun is pretty brutal and it will take a toll on people, and the price usually doesn't come the same day you get burned. The price of a sunburn comes few years later, like 10, 20 years later. And by that time, you might be a lot wiser than when you were young and you use sunscreen, but the damage was done already and the price comes.
Oh, and other form of cancer, other cancers, colon cancer, or
Uh, for other form of cancers like colon cancer, uh, I personally believe that colon cancer is due to irritation on the colon because of the foods that we eat and the lectins in the food. Um, I believe that if you go to the bathroom regularly and um, if you use foods that do not cause inflammation, non-inflammatory, and you starve the cancer in not giving it sugar in any form, like for example, bread. Bread is like glucose molecules linked together. So all the body has to do is to take this long chain of glucose molecules, carbohydrates, and just chop each glucose separately, and it's sugar, pure sugar. It metabolizes faster than a fruit, because it's pure sugar. It's metabolized faster than table sugar. So, you eliminate bread. Like, I am Romanian. In Romania, everything was eaten with bread. You had my father used to eat bread with watermelon, or a combination that, like, my God, how could you combine those two? But that's what he grew up on, and you know, it
it's
was.
the taste, it's the special taste.
It must be because he used to love it.
Yeah. And the last question: if cancer runs in my family, will I get cancer? Is a very important question. And the answer?
Is no.
No.
Can, for example, they are doing retrospective study on people that are like identical twins that
Yeah.
were separated at birth. One twin ended in one family and the other ended in another family. In the family that adopted, let's say, twin number one, uh, the mother had colon cancer, the grandmother had colon cancer, and surprise, surprise, the adopted twin number one got colon cancer. Identical twin that was adopted by another family didn't have colon cancer, but neither did adopted mother and adopted grandmother. An adopted dog didn't get the same cancer. And this didn't happen one time or two times. And because those are identical twins, they should get the identical diseases. And because they don't, and it mimics what the family in which they were put in had that type of a disease, which in this case would be colon cancer, let's say, it say that this cancer is not genetically transmitted. It is environmentally, because in the case of twin number one, he ate the same food that his mother ate and his grandmother ate. So all three of them, either they were separated by like 20 years or 25 years each one had cancer, the same type of cancer. That doesn't mean that he was born with the gene to get cancer. No. But let's say that he had a mutation in like one chromosome, and pretty much everybody that has that mutation would get cancer. Can he do something about it? Yes. There is something called epigenetic, which is a control above the genes, which is usually done by extra environmental factors that do control a gene, and it could keep a gene away from expressing a specific protein, in this case cancer, or not expressing it. The gene would be there, just like a switch would be there on the wall, but the switch could be turned on and the switch could be turned off. In this case, many of the diseases that are associated with a specific gene could be controlled with epigenetic control. That is not 100%. There are genes that cannot be controlled with epigenetic control, like mutation on the DNA or whatever. But those are rare, and this is not the norm. For most of the people, this is a controlled disease.
Yeah.
You are not the fact that you were born on a family and the family had like a heart condition, you are not a victim of your genetic environment because you are born in that family. No, you are in control of your destiny. And step one into exercises this control is to keep yourself informed. Education, information.
So to have your own lifestyle.
Exactly. You don't have to follow in the footsteps of your parents. Like for example, if my father would have been a drunken sailor, nobody's putting a gun to my head to drink. There might be a predisposition, and once I start drinking, I like it and I'm gonna become a drunk. But I also have the choice of not following in that footsteps, and I could choose a different path. The fact that my mother or my father smoke like a chimney doesn't mean that I have to follow exactly the same footsteps. I am my own individuality. I have my brain. Maybe I should stay away from those behaviors that are costly, because in the end, everybody pays when a person gets cancer and is treated into the established system. In the end, everybody pays, but the major portion of suffering and money comes from the person that is affected by the disease. Like if my neighbor gets cancer, I feel bad for him, but I do not go through the hell he goes with the chemotherapy, with the surgery, with the pain. No, that is reserved for him.
Yeah, definitely. Dr. Farkas, thank you for the valuable information you share with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. We also thank those who follow us and invite them to watch our other videos. All the best, and see you soon.
See you and have a wonderful day. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Farkas.
Of course. Bye bye.